in the quiet shadows of ordinary life. Sometimes, unimaginable darkness takes root. This is not just a story. This is a descent into the mind of one of America's most chilling figures. Welcome to Tales of a Wanderer. And tonight, we walk alongside Jeffrey Dahmer, the quiet killer.
In the quiet suburbs of Bath, Ohio, nestled among swaying trees and picket fences, a boy named Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21st, 1960. His father, Lionel, a chemist. His mother, Joyce, deeply troubled, battling inner demons of her own. From the outside, it looked like a normal American family. But shadows don't always scream. Sometimes they whisper. As a toddler, Jeffrey was bright, even cheerful. He laughed. He ran through the backyard, chasing butterflies. He clung to his stuffed bunny. But something began to change. A stillness crept into his gaze. A vacancy, a hollow quiet. His mother suffered from bouts of anxiety and breakdowns. His father worked long hours. Home was not warm. Home was not safe. Home was fractured. When Jeffrey was just 4 years old, he underwent double hernia surgery. Afterward, he was never quite the same. Some say that pain altered something in him. Something deep, something hidden. He began to withdraw. He stopped smiling. His eyes grew glassy, distant. In elementary school, teachers noted he was polite, but painfully shy. He rarely spoke unless spoken to. He stared at the floor. He kept to himself. But in the woods near his home, young Jeffrey found something that did speak to him. The lifeless bodies of animals, birds, squirrels, frogs. He collected roadkill. Not out of cruelty, he insisted, but curiosity. He wanted to see how things worked. He called it his own kind of science. His father, Lionel, unknowingly encouraged it, teaching him how to bleach bones, preserve flesh, thinking it was just science, just interest. But to Jeffrey, the idea of death was not frightening. It was fascinating, beautiful even. He'd line bones on boards like trophies. He'd stare at jars of preserved organs like they were art. And no one, not a single soul, saw what was quietly blooming inside him. Middle school came, then high school. The strange boy became stranger. He faked seizures in class, made odd noises. Some classmates thought he was just trying to be funny. Others were scared. At lunch, he sat alone. On weekends, he drank alone. Vodka in a soda bottle. The bitterness on his lips dulled the bitterness in his soul. Inside him, urges began to stir. Fantasies that he couldn't silence. Of control, of submission, of bodies that wouldn't leave him. Couldn't. But he kept it hidden, behind empty smiles, behind cold blue eyes. Until one day, it spilled over. 1978. The summer heat hung thick in the air. 3 weeks after graduation, the world still called him a boy, but inside, he was something else. Driving down the road, he saw a hitchhiker, Stephen Hicks, just 18, athletic, carefree. They talked, they laughed, they drank, and then they went back to Jeffrey's house. But when Stephen said he had to leave, Jeffrey panicked. He couldn't bear the thought of being left again. So he reached for a dumbbell, a moment of rage, of fear, of need. One strike to the head, a strangling, a silence that would echo for years. In that basement, something was born, and something else died. He buried the remains, then unearthed them, then destroyed them. And with each action, he grew colder, calmer, more practiced. The boy in the woods was gone. And in his place stood a man no one truly saw. Not yet. For a while, he tried to be normal, enrolled at Ohio State University, dropped out after one term. Then, the Army, stationed in Germany, disciplined, but the darkness lingered. Fellow soldiers later reported odd behavior, late-night drinking, and unsettling moods. Discharged in 1981, honorably, yet quietly. He drifted, living with relatives, working odd jobs. But inside, the hunger returned. By 1987, Dahmer had moved to Milwaukee. A new city, a fresh start. Or so it seemed. In a hotel room that year, he met Stephen Tuomi. They drank. Jeffrey blacked out. When he awoke, Stephen was dead. Panic set in, but calm followed. He purchased a large suitcase, stuffed the body inside, took it to his grandmother's basement. There, he dismembered Stephen. Acid and bleach became his tools of erasure. But unlike before, he kept a part of Stephen, a trophy, a bone, a piece of skin, a reminder. What began as impulsive turned into ritual. Over the next few years, he hunted in bars and clubs, targeted young men, vulnerable, alone. He offered money, drinks, companionship. But inside his apartment, horror unfolded. He drugged them, then strangled them, preserved parts, hearts, skulls, even full skeletons. Some he photographed, others he consumed. Neighbors noticed strange smells. One even called police. But each time, Jeffrey's politeness disarmed suspicion. By 1991, the count had risen. 17 lives taken. But one would escape. Tracy Edwards. Handcuffed, terrified. He ran, found police, led them to Dahmer's apartment. What they discovered shook the world. A freezer full of remains, a shrine in progress, drawings, Polaroids, containers of acid. The truth could no longer be hidden. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was arrested, and the mask finally fell. What follows is the reckoning, the courtroom, the aftermath. The courtroom buzzed with a heavy silence, one only broken by the soft scratch of pens and the rustle of suits. When Jeffrey Dahmer sat on the stand, there was no remorse in his eyes, just the distant stare of a man who no longer belonged to the world that made him. Families of the victims watched him with hollow eyes, hoping for answers that never came. His confession wasn't a performance. It was a cold, detailed recollection of horror, like recounting recipes rather than lives. "I did it," he said, "because I wanted them to stay with me." The trial revealed not just his crimes, but how many systems had failed. Neighbors had reported smells, screams, and yet time after time, nothing was done. Injustice danced in plain sight. Even one victim had escaped, only to be handed back to Dahmer by police who believed it was simply a lover's quarrel. The sentencing was swift, 15 life terms, over 900 years. Yet many felt justice had barely arrived. In prison, Dahmer was different. He found religion, was baptized behind bars, and said he wished for forgiveness. But many questioned if he truly understood the magnitude of what he'd done. He reportedly kept to himself, drew, read the Bible, ate alone. Some inmates said he joked darkly about his crimes. Others said he was a ghost, haunting even the prison walls. And then in 1994, justice found its final chapter. Another inmate attacked Dahmer, beating him to death with a metal bar. Some called it revenge, others called it silence, finally restored. But the questions, they never faded. How many other monsters walk among us unnoticed? How many warnings do we ignore until it's too late? Jeffrey Dahmer is gone. But the darkness he left behind still flickers in America's memory.
Evil does not always wear a monster's face. Sometimes it lives in plain sight, behind a neighbor's door, a soft voice, a polite smile. The story of Jeffrey Dahmer is not just one of horror, it is a reminder. This has been Tales of a Wanderer. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and let your mind wander.